What's up, y'all? It's Celeste. This is part 2 of a top surgery Q&A I'm doing where I'm answering your questions about top surgery and my experience with it. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll be linking it up there, so you can watch that first if you'd like. This will be a bunch of different questions, so you can watch these in any order. It doesn't really matter, but if you want to get the full experience, then I do recommend watching that one first. And as I mentioned in that video, I do have a top surgery playlist, which I will be linking up there as well, that you can watch to see all of my videos related to top surgery. So now back into the questions. Someone wanted me to talk a little bit about the handling of lifting your arms up and weights post-op and when you could move again like before. I didn't really start trying to do any kind of workout stuff until 6 weeks post-op. That's what I was told to do. And even then, I started very, very slow. I just did some very gentle stretching, not stretching above my head, not stretching anything that felt like pulling or pushing too much. It was basically just trying to get a little bit more movement so that I would kind of start to get my mobility back, and just very gradual. Over the next several weeks and months, I just gradually built things back up. And around 3 months post-op, I had complete mobility. I was able to put my hand above my head, behind my head, and everything totally fine. And it was around 4 months post-op that I was back to my usual workout routine where I was lifting like 20 pounds above my head and like not having anything different than it had been pre-op. What was standing up straight like the first time without pain? I'm not exactly sure how to answer this because both standing up straight and not having pain were things that happened gradually. When I first had surgery, like for the first few weeks, I was sort of hunched over. It was my body trying to protect itself. And also the first week I was very tightly bandaged, so that kind of affected my posture as well. But over time, I just kind of gradually stood up straight, and it wasn't like a thing where I was intentionally doing it, and it wasn't a thing where I was hunched and then suddenly I was standing up straight. It was so gradual that I didn't even notice it. And the same thing kind of with the pain. It was something that just gradually became more and more intermittent to the point where when I didn't have any pain finally, it was something I didn't even really notice because it was so spread out at that time that it wasn't something I even really thought about very much. So that doesn't exactly answer your question, but hopefully it kind of at least addresses the two things that you're asking about, and sort of answers what that experience was like for me. As a non-binary folk, how did it change your way of playing with clothes and style? For the most part, my style hasn't changed that much. I still am wearing mostly t-shirts and button-up shirts from day to day, and mostly ones that I've had for a long time, even since I was pre-op. I did buy a whole bunch of both of those after surgery, especially the first few months after surgery. It was very hard for me to resist not just buying a whole bunch of shirts because it was so exciting to be able to go to the store and try things on and them just fit and me feel really good about them and me feel like I looked good in them. And I just had a little bit of a problem for a while. So I do have a lot of shirts. I have way too many shirts, honestly. I already had too many, but anyway, mostly that hasn't changed too much. I've been kind of pleasantly surprised that most of the shirts that I have that are women's or junior sizes, and so therefore are cut in like a more femme way, still fit me. I was kind of afraid that more of them would have been kind of stretched out in the top or would just like generally not look good on my body shape at this point. But, and there are a few of them are in that category, but most of them still fit me well, and so that's good. One thing that's newer for me is suspenders. I love them so much. And I had some when I was little, but I haven't worn them since I developed because I didn't feel comfortable with the way they kind of accentuated that area, the way they kind of like bow out. I don't like that. Not on other people. It's fine on other people. For me personally, I did not feel comfortable with it. So I didn't wear them for years and years, and that was sad. And now I'm able to wear them again. It's very exciting. So I have like, I don't know, like 6 or 8 pairs at this point that I wear when I like get dressed up to go places. And I did like an entire costume at Dragon Con, like literally just so I could wear suspenders. I mean, I did like the character too, but it definitely is one of the more not entirely new things for me, but something that I've been able to enjoy more since I had surgery. Something that I've gotten back into since I had surgery. So that's been exciting. I've gotten a lot more men's formal wear in general lately, and that's been really exciting to me because I love it and didn't feel comfortable wearing a lot of it before. Just the way that it was cut and the way that it fit on my body just didn't really work. So it's been really cool to be able to kind of gather a whole bunch of stuff. I get most of it at thrift stores because it's really expensive if you buy it at retail. So it's been fun to experiment with that. And I've worn a lot more of that recently. I did wear a dress one time earlier this year to a wedding, and it did fit me well in the chest, which was kind of surprising because it was one that I had had since before surgery. And it fit very differently the two times, but it still fit and still looked good. So that was nice. I do have some other dresses that I had to give away because just the way they're cut, like you have to have something there. And I don't now, which is fine. I don't wear dresses very much anyway. Like that was literally the only time this whole year I've worn a dress other than for a costume. So whatever. Before surgery, I had somewhat of an androgynous style, and I feel like I still do, but it's kind of moved a little bit more in the masculine direction. I don't feel like that's necessarily an entirely permanent thing. It's more just kind of where I am right now and what I feel more comfortable with right now. But I do intend to experiment more in the future and like try different things. So we'll just kind of see how things go from this point. But yeah. How has top surgery affected your life? Do you feel more freedom to wear what you want and express yourself and be yourself now versus before top surgery? Well, I kind of just covered the fashion and expressing myself part of it, but in general I do feel more myself because for one thing I feel personally more comfortable in my body, and it makes me feel less constrained and more in alignment with myself, and so that makes me feel like just more, I don't know, just like things are right with myself. But as far as interacting with other people, it also helps because I feel more like I'm presenting myself and my body in a way that is in alignment with myself. So even though for the most part people don't read me correctly, they usually read me as female, I still feel like what I'm putting out into the world is more in alignment with who I actually am. And so that makes me feel more confident, and it makes me feel more just like, I don't know, like there's not as much of a wall there than I used to feel. Making all these videos and talking so openly about surgery and about being on T has also helped me in a lot of ways because it's kind of opened me up to talking about personal things and sharing parts of my body and sharing parts of my body that are imperfect or that are like not polished. And it's just kind of made me pull back a lot of the kind of things that I had been doing all along to kind of edit myself and try to curate the best version of myself. I mean, I still do that, of course. Everybody does that to some degree. But it's helped me be more okay with being more vulnerable with my body and just more open about different things. And so that's not directly the top surgery itself, but it's kind of a secondary effect of having surgery and of being vocal about my experience with it. Curious to know how many months it took you to not have a car seat belt buckled over your chest and post-op stitches. I was actually able to wear a seatbelt immediately. I don't think I was ever told not to wear a seatbelt shoulder strap. And I had a seatbelt pillow that I made ahead of time that made it a lot more comfortable. So it wasn't even an issue of going over the stitches. Most of the stitches were on the incisions, which were on the outsides of where the shoulder strap goes, because it goes right across the center of your chest. And I personally didn't have my incisions going all the way across, so I did have some stitches under that area, the ends of the scars, but mostly it wasn't really because of that. It was more a matter of just that whole area being sensitive and having been through a lot and being kind of swollen and just healing. And the area where the seatbelt goes is like directly across your sternum. That is not really all that protected. It's not, there's not a lot of softness there. It's basically just like right on your bone. So that was not very comfortable. Having the seatbelt pillow helped a lot because it helps pull the seatbelt itself away from that part of your chest, so it's not just like straight against your body. It also kind of distributes the pressure outward more so that it's not all just on that one spot. So I definitely recommend getting or making a seatbelt pillow. I made mine. It was very easy to make, but you can also buy them. And I wore mine for about a month post-op when I was a passenger, and then once I started driving, I still wore it for about another month, and it was very useful for those 2 months. So I don't really use it now, but it was really good to have for those couple of months. How long did it take for your nipple grafts to feel and look completely healed? They were pretty much healed as far as like the health related aspect of it was concerned after a few weeks. But it was around 3 to 4 months, I think, that they pretty much looked natural, that they looked like they were a normal part of my body. Before that, the areola and my regular skin, like they looked like two separate pieces, like kind of a patchwork thing. Whereas after that point, they still looked like different colors, but it all looked like kind of one surface. And the nipple part also kind of like smoothed out with the rest of the areola by that point. So it all kind of just looked more natural around then from like a regular distance. If you look closely enough, you can see like a scarring around where it was sewn, but just like looking at them normally, that was around when they looked pretty normal. I would love to hear if you've ever felt like it was a bad decision undergoing top surgery. I have chest dysphoria, but I also sometimes think that I could survive without that surgery. To answer your first question, no, not even a little bit. I have never felt like it was a bad decision. I've never had regrets about it. I've never had like a second where I thought maybe I shouldn't have done that. It's very common to feel that way. It's common to question it or to go through a period where you're not used to your body yet. So you're like, I don't know if that was right. That's totally normal. It does not mean you made the wrong decision. But I personally did not really deal with that. I've been in pretty much a permanent state of euphoria over my chest for a year straight, a year plus straight, where I've just felt like over the moon about having had top surgery, and like it's just been a great experience for me. As far as feeling like you could survive without having top surgery, I don't like the view of dysphoria, of it having to be just like the worst thing ever that you can't survive unless you do something about it. That is a reality of dysphoria for a lot of people, and in a lot of aspects for people it can be that way, but that's not the only valid kind of dysphoria, and it's not the only dysphoria that deserves your attention. I feel like if there's something you can do to improve your life, to make your life better, to make you feel more comfortable with yourself, and that thing is within your power, then there's no reason for you not to do it. I don't feel like you should have to be in an acute state of crisis to make positive changes for yourself and to do things that make you feel good about yourself, and just to take a step that feels more in alignment with who you are and how you want to be. I could have survived without having top surgery. I didn't realize that I had dysphoria until a few years ago, and I spent more than 20 years having a chest that I was not comfortable with, that I didn't like, but I wasn't really aware of why exactly. I didn't understand it, and I didn't feel like there was anything I could do about it. So for a long time, I had kind of resigned myself to it. I had kind of gotten used to it. I wasn't happy with it, but I could have gone the rest of my life maintaining that status quo of like being unhappy with it but feeling like I was stuck with it. I could have gone the whole rest of my life like that, but should I have? No. Like, why would I want to do that if I didn't have to? I'm so much happier now. I'm so much freer. I'm able to do things that I wasn't able to do. I feel more confident. I just like, it's improved my life so much. And I didn't have to be in the worst state possible in order to see that improvement, in order to deserve that improvement. I think that's kind of the key here, is feeling like you only deserve to call something dysphoria, or you only deserve to transition or to do something about your dysphoria, to have something like surgery if you are in like the worst possible state that you can't survive, that you will hurt yourself if you don't have the surgery. And like I said, there are people who are in that situation, and those people should also have surgery. Now, if it's a matter of you not being sure if you want top surgery, if you're not sure if it's the right path for you, if you're not sure if it would make you happy, if you're not sure if that's the body that you want, that's something totally different. And that is something you definitely should explore as fully as possible and think very clearly and hard about before you make a decision to have top surgery, because it is a big deal. But if it's just a matter of you feeling like you don't deserve to have top surgery because your suffering is not as bad as it could be, or you can endure the suffering that you have, in my opinion, that's not the metric by which you should be gauging changes that you make in your life and things that you want for yourself. You shouldn't be just gauging it based on like how much you can endure, so much as how much better your life would be if you do take that step. And the final question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how liberating has it felt? I would say around 8 or 9 bazillion. It has been extremely liberating. It has been a great experience. It has made me feel more liberated as far as my body itself, like how connected I feel to it and how okay I am with it and with sharing it with other people. I still don't walk around shirtless out in public or anything, but as far as like just walking around the house or like putting stuff on the internet and showing my body to people that way, like that's not at all something I was comfortable with before. So that's been very liberating. Also just in how it's made me feel about myself and the things that it's made me feel like I can do again that I couldn't do, and just kind of generally making me feel like I'm not carrying, like literally carrying this weight around with me, literally and figuratively, carrying something around that was holding me back from being my real self. And it's hard to describe, I think, but I feel like it just has been, it's been like removing, it's removed more than just a body part. It has removed a lot of barriers that I felt and just like a weight that I felt that that now I'm able to do more and I don't feel as held back as I did. So liberating is a great word for it. So that is it for the top surgery Q&A. I hope I answered all of your questions to your satisfaction. And don't forget to watch part 1 if you haven't already. That'll be linked in the description below. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more of my future content. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.